Thanks for stopping by. Welcome to Apple's Art Studio. I'm Apples and I've been a multimedia artist for years, but now I really love polymer clay. Today's tutorial is about polymer clay and it's exclusively made for Tiny Pandora design team, which I'm a member of, and it's developed by Teresa Salgado. So come on, let's go have fun, where the magic happens. Do you all remember not too long ago, I made these two beads out of scraps that I had? And I made them really quite long, not knowing what I wanted to do with them. But I knew that I wanted to make a tribal looking necklace out of them. And that's where I actually began my journey. Because it took a little bit more time and thought than what I actually thought it would. So are you ready to see what I ended up with from these beads or tubes, whatever you want to call them? I ended up with this tribal tubular necklace and earrings to match. It took some thought because I knew I wanted to hang them lengthwise, and I had to figure out how to do that to fit on suede cord, because I wanted something large enough to hold the weight of the beads, not weight-wise as much as looking-wise. I wanted the weight of the cord to look as tribal and as heavy as the beads did. So my first thing I needed to do, other than figure out how to get the tube beads onto a cord lengthwise, was I needed to make some beads to go with it because I didn't have any. So I did. I made 4 big round beads. And I did them in a metallic green. I think it's the new metallics that are out within the last year. And I made 4 of them. And I made them large because I thought 4 large beads would look good with 4 large tubes, or 3 large tubes. But I made them too large. So in size proportion, they didn't work. So next, I made, let me see if I can find a loose one. Well, next I made these triangular beads. And I made them out of the same green metallic. And I put a hole at the top, not thinking. And out of the scraps that I had, oh, here it is. This is it. There we go. Out of the scraps from the triangle bead, I just cut it up to make like little spacer beads. And those were okay. I liked the metallic with the tube beads, but I still wasn't sure how I was going to get the triangle bead on there. So then I decided, well, that's just not enough beads. I need to make some more beads. So let me get these out of the way. And I did. I have a set of feather cutters that are more feather shaped than like petal shape. I cut them out in black. I stuck gold foil mainly around on the edge of them. And just pieces. I just took pieces of scrap gold foil and laid it on there. No rhyme, no reason. Just to add some color and to pull them in. And if it got on the sides, well, you know, that was a so be it choice. So when I went to put, and I've got those baked. So then I had all of this stuff sitting out. And really wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with it. Because I put the hole at the top. The only thing I could do to it was put a jump ring on it. So I didn't want to put a jump ring on it and just put the jump ring to the cord. And I ended up attaching the tube beads, and I'll show you how I did those in a minute, on necklace bails to get them to go on the cord, to string the cord through them, and to be able to hang them. So I didn't want to put any more metal bails on them. So I took a wire, and this is the wire I used, and I cut it about 6 inches long. I put a hoop on one end, and I started beading seed beads on it. And they're metallic, and then I put a white bead on it. And I ran the wire through the wooden bead, and then strung the same amount of seed beads on the left side. Put another hoop on the end, and then attach both of those hoops to my jump ring to my triangle. And that's how I ended up with that. And that gave me the ability to run the suede cording through this big enough hole to get it through there. So this just says think about stuff a little bit first. Okay, look. As earrings. And I did the same thing to these little beads, which you can cut with your blade. And I ended up putting the antique gold, bronze bead covers on the end, and a little flat glass natural looking stone, and a natural looking stone there. Ran a wire through it, put a hoop on the end of it, put a little screw eye at the end of my green bead, and then up here I wire wrapped it. I took the wire again through the hoop, brought it up, coiled it around, and brought it back around to where it made the little curlicue thing up at the top, and then I placed my earring hook on it. So I did end up getting use out of those big green beads, because I don't know of any other time that I actually would get use out of those. If you're doing this and you don't have a bunch of stuff, you also can use the wax thread, and this comes in different colors as well. It's not as thick though, but it will work other than like a beading wire. So this wax thread will work as well. Something else, little clips to hold your beads on your cord. I couldn't tell you how many times I chased seed beads all over my floor in here. So here's my 2 triangle beads, and it has one of my black and gold beads. Then I put a metal spacer and another black and gold bead. And here's where I did my tube bead. I put my metal bail on top with a jump ring. I used that same wire, fed it all the way down through the tube. Because the tube was so thick around, and you could see the top and the bottom of it. I cut out a piece of really thin black clay and baked it and glued it onto the top and the bottom of the beads before I assembled them to give this bead cap a place to rest, and so you couldn't see through the bead. And I did that on both ends, and it sure looked better than when I first started. So down at the end of my bead, I made another hoop, and this is on the same wire. This was like I think an 8-inch wire that I started out with. And then another little natural stone at the end. There's my bead. My bead didn't have a large enough hole in it in the beginning to put the suede cord on it. I had made a hole, but it just wasn't large enough. So I took my little hand drill and I put a regular drill bit in the end of it because I didn't need it too much larger. I just needed enough to be able to feed onto the suede cord. And I carefully drilled a bigger hole with a regular drill bit in here to get it to the size that I needed to be able to put my suede cord on. Every one of these are just tools that I have that I use. Some of them are really old, as you can see. I needed the little loopy pliers to make my little loops with. I didn't use those pliers on this one. I used needle nose pliers. You can see how old these are and how long I've had them. And also the curved needle nose pliers. I also used the pliers that has the protective ends on them. I can't think what they're called right now. To straighten out my wire so it didn't scratch up my wire. I used my little wire cutters. And because my hands are so bad, I have the one-step looper tool. And this makes the smallest of the loops on the end. And you just stick your wire through there and close it. Let me get a piece of wire real quick. You just take your wire, and there's a hole back here on this side. I don't know if I can do this and hold the camera at the same time. Yeah, there we go. And if your wire is long enough to stick through the hole over here, stick it through there because it'll cut it off. If not, you actually can put the end of your wire right after this little curved piece, and it will make the same loop. And you just leave everything in there, shut it. That piece that it cuts off falls out. And here's your hoop. A lot of times it's not closed all the way, especially when I'm filming a video with one hand on the camera and doing the one-step looper one-handed. When I use super glue, I use Gorilla Super Glue Gel. I showed you the wire that I used before. Here's the wire that I used, and I showed that to you before. A lot of people are asking about these little tiny eye screws. That's how small they are. My jump rings. I've got a toggle clasp to go on the end, and I also have a cap to go on the end of my suede cord. So I'll come back and show you how to put this all together. Okay, let's get the necklace, the rest of this necklace put together. This is the big one. Remember, I had a small clamp to hold the beads on the suede cord. And this the bead that I made. It's like the feather shape. And I've got it going the right way on there. And sometimes these go right through. And sometimes they don't. But if you'll just poke it through, it'll work. Sure, y'all have done that millions of times. Okay, now I'll go back over here and I can see what I have. And I need another one of these. No, that went on backwards. And then one of the green beads that I made. And sometimes these need a little help poking through. If it didn't go through one side, try the other. And another one of these. Strung that one on the wrong way. Because once you get this end on here, you can't change it. So you need to make sure and double check everything as you're doing it. But I have to say, this has been a fun project. It just takes a little bit of time to string these up. And the suede cord is good because it's large enough to carry the look that you need for these size beads. And it's soft on the neck. Then we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 green ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 green ones. Let's make sure our little things are all going the same way. Okay, this end I already did. I'm going to put a little metal spacer bead at the end of this green one. And just like this end, so we can see it. It's a little metal tube with a little loop on top, so you can put your jumper ring through it. These are called bead caps. And these are probably some of the easiest bead caps to use. Because with the suede cord and the bead cap being metal, the only thing you can about do is I fill my bead cap up with Gorilla Super Glue Gel. And I don't fill it all the way up to the top, but I fill it up enough to where I can push this down there and it's going to gather more than just one side of it. we'll poke it in there so it'll tighten up. Just using a skewer, it's a little bit stronger than a toothpick. And so that part is done. Now just for the clasp. We'll need some jump rings and a pair of pliers. And I love using these jump ring things. To me, I find it easier to put jump rings on using this little thing on your finger. And I want to put one jump ring on that's of the smaller size and another one on, and close those up. Then I want to open this jump ring, and remember, always take it to the side. And I want to put a little bit larger jump ring on there. And if you'll listen, when you go to close a jump ring, if it's closed properly, it will actually click. If you've got it all lined up from the top and the sides, when you go to put it together, just take it a little bit past where you want it and bring it back, and you'll hear a little click. And on this bigger jump ring, I'm going to put the straight side of the toggle. And I like to put a few jump rings at the end of this, so when you're trying to put this on yourself and you're into the toggle part, then you got room to work with the toggle a little bit. Open that jump ring. Put the second one on there. And put it on the end of our bead cap. Close it up. Get the big one. Open it up. Put the other side of your toggle on. Put your jump ring on your jump ring, your bigger jump ring on your smaller jump ring. Close your jump ring up. Put your straight piece down through your round piece of your toggle. Okay, here you have it. It was fun to make. Got frustrating a little bit at times, trying to figure out what to put where. And then you make these beads and they just don't work, and so you make some other beads and they seem to work. And here's the earrings I made out of the big green beads that I thought was going to work that didn't. So I hope you all enjoyed this one, and don't be afraid to bead your work or string your work. Just make beads or get beads or whatever and just start stringing. Either you like it or you don't, and if you don't, you take it apart and try it again. It will work. So I had fun with this one. I hope you all have fun with one too. Until next time, blessings.